Picture this. It's 2 in the morning. You wake up to use the bathroom, swing your legs over the side of the bed, and suddenly your knees feel like jelly. Your thighs don't seem to respond. Your calves tremble, and for one terrifying moment you wonder if you're about to collapse right there on the bedroom floor. Many seniors describe this exact scenario to me. They think it's just age catching up with them, but in reality, something else is happening. Your muscles, the very tissue that allows you to walk, climb, and remain independent, are quietly shrinking while you sleep. And the cause often isn't what you expect. You might think muscle loss only comes from inactivity or skipping exercise, but the truth is more unsettling. Much of the damage happens during the night when the body should be repairing itself. Sleep is meant to be the time when growth hormones peak, when protein synthesis repairs microscopic tears, and when muscle cells renew themselves. But for many seniors, that cycle doesn't happen. Instead of repair, there is erosion. The culprits are often the very foods and habits you trust. A warm drink before bed, a small harmless snack, or even a piece of fruit that you've always believed to be good for you. All of these can set off biochemical reactions that prevent muscles from rebuilding. I remember one of my patients, Mrs. Collins, a 72-year-old retired school teacher. She came to me complaining that her mornings were becoming unbearable. "Doctor," she said, "I can walk fine by afternoon, but every morning it feels like my legs are 10 years older than the rest of me." When I reviewed her nightly habits, the truth became clear. She wasn't eating anything outrageous. No fast food, no alcohol binges. In fact, she was proud of her healthy bedtime routine, a bowl of fruit, a glass of milk, and sometimes a cookie or two. But these very choices were raising her nighttime insulin levels, spiking her cortisol, and robbing her muscles of the restorative phase they needed. Instead of growing stronger overnight, her muscles were breaking down. Science tells us that after 60 muscle loss, what doctors call sarcopenia accelerates at an alarming rate. On average, adults over 60 lose up to 3% of muscle strength each year if nothing is done to stop it. But what most people don't know is that the timing of food intake can either speed up or slow down this process. Eating the wrong things in the evening sets up a chain reaction. High blood sugar at night interferes with growth hormone release. Elevated cortisol suppresses protein synthesis, and disrupted sleep cycles reduce the body's ability to repair. The end result: you wake up weaker than you were when you went to bed. Mrs. Collins was stunned when I explained this to her. She had always thought her healthy snacks were protecting her, not harming her. Yet within weeks of changing her evening routine, cutting out late-night sweets, moving her fruit earlier in the day, and swapping milk for a protein-rich, sugar-free alternative, her mornings transformed. "Doctor," she told me on her next visit, "I woke up today and my legs didn't shake. I stood right up. It felt like I had taken back 5 years." Her case is not unique. I've seen it repeated over and over again in my practice. Seniors who thought they were doing everything right were actually undermining themselves in the quietest hours of the night. And I can tell you with certainty, the foods you eat after sunset carry far more weight than most people realize. Before we go any further, I want to pause and remind you, if you haven't subscribed yet, hit that button and turn on the bell so you never miss another health tip made just for you. And if you're finding this eye-opening, type 1 in the comments. If you're not convinced yet, type 0, and let me know how I can make this content more helpful for you. Your feedback matters. So, what are the real nighttime culprits? Which foods and habits are silently robbing your muscles while you sleep? Tonight, I'm going to reveal 9 of the most common, and I promise you'll be surprised. Let's start with the first one, the sugary snack that almost everyone thinks is harmless until they see the damage it causes. Think back to the last time you craved something sweet before bed. Maybe it was just a couple of cookies, a slice of cake left over from dinner, or even a scoop of ice cream you told yourself you deserved after a long day. Many seniors see this as a harmless indulgence, but what if I told you those small evening treats were silently accelerating the loss of your muscle tissue? Here's the science. After the age of 60, your body becomes less sensitive to insulin. That means when you eat sugar late at night, your blood sugar spikes higher and stays elevated longer than it did when you were younger. High nighttime glucose isn't just a problem for diabetics. It interferes directly with the production of growth hormone, the very hormone your body relies on to repair and rebuild muscle while you sleep. Instead of a smooth cycle of rest and renewal, your body is thrown into metabolic chaos. Muscles that should be restoring themselves are actually breaking down. One of my patients, Mr. Raymond, a 66-year-old retired carpenter, experienced this firsthand. He had always been proud of his strength. Even after retirement, he stayed active by doing woodworking in his garage. But he came to me complaining that every morning his grip felt weaker, his arms ached, and he was struggling to lift tools that had once felt light. When we dug into his routine, the answer was obvious. Every night he enjoyed a generous bowl of ice cream while watching television. He thought it was harmless, something he had earned after decades of hard work. Yet that single habit was sabotaging him. The high sugar content was spiking his insulin, preventing muscle repair and accelerating his loss of strength. Once he cut out those nightly desserts and replaced them with a protein-based evening snack, the change was dramatic. Within 6 weeks, his morning strength improved and the aches in his arms subsided. Mainstream medicine confirms what I've seen in patients like Mr. Raymond. Studies show that nighttime insulin surges suppress the release of growth hormone by up to 75%. For seniors, this is devastating because growth hormone is already declining naturally with age. Add high-sugar snacks into the mix and the little repair potential that remains is completely blocked. But there's more to the story than just insulin. Sugar also raises cortisol, the stress hormone. Elevated cortisol at night disrupts protein synthesis, the process your body uses to rebuild muscle fibers. Instead of being restored, those fibers fray and weaken. That's why so many seniors wake up stiff, sore, or shaky after a night of indulgence. It's not simply old age, it's biochemical sabotage. So I ask you, what did you eat before bed last night? Was it something sweet that you thought would help you relax? If so, now you know the truth. Those late-night sugar cravings are quietly stealing your independence one night at a time. And if you think sugar is the only bedtime trap, wait until you hear about the next so-called healthy habit. Many seniors swear by a warm glass of milk before sleep, believing it helps them rest better. But could that comforting tradition actually be undermining your muscle health? Let's take a closer look. For decades, many of us have heard the advice, if you can't sleep, drink a warm glass of milk. It's soothing, it feels nurturing, and it's been passed down through generations. But for seniors over 60, this seemingly harmless bedtime ritual can become a hidden enemy to muscle health. Let's break down why. When you drink milk before bed, especially in larger amounts, it sets off a chain reaction in your body. Milk contains natural sugars in the form of lactose, which raise insulin levels. That insulin spike may not seem like a big deal, but at night, it matters more than most people realize. Elevated insulin suppresses the release of growth hormone, the very hormone that orchestrates muscle repair during deep sleep. So instead of entering a restorative phase where your muscles are being rebuilt, your body shifts into a state of sugar management. Night after night, this disruption adds up to serious muscle loss. I had a patient, Mrs. Harrington, a 69-year-old grandmother who had always prided herself on staying active with her grandchildren. She came to me frustrated because she was losing strength in her thighs and calves. "Doctor," she said, "I just don't understand. I walk every day, I eat well, and I'm not overweight. But every morning I wake up feeling like my legs are made of sandbags." When I asked her about her bedtime habits, she smiled and proudly said, "Oh, nothing bad. Just my nightly glass of warm milk to help me sleep." She was shocked when I explained how that very habit was sabotaging her recovery. Within weeks of cutting milk from her bedtime routine, her morning stiffness improved, and she began to notice her strength returning. Mainstream medical knowledge backs this up. As we age, our ability to digest lactose decreases. This can cause subtle digestive stress at night, leading to bloating, cramping, or disrupted sleep. And poor sleep alone accelerates muscle breakdown. But there's also a lesser-known biochemical fact: casein, the primary protein in milk, digests slowly. While this might sound beneficial in older adults, it can delay the release of amino acids precisely when the body most needs them during the early stages of deep sleep. Instead of repairing muscle tissue immediately, the process is slowed, leaving gaps in the body's overnight recovery. This doesn't mean all dairy is bad. In fact, protein from dairy can be helpful when consumed at the right time. But timing is everything. For seniors, late-night dairy creates more problems than it solves. It spikes insulin, interrupts deep sleep, and delays muscle repair. That's why so many people like Mrs. Harrington wake up weaker and stiffer despite thinking they're doing the right thing. So here's the question. What's really helping you sleep better at night? The comfort of tradition or the biology of your body? If milk is quietly eroding your strength, isn't it worth asking if there's a safer alternative? Herbal teas, magnesium-rich snacks, or protein sources timed earlier in the evening may actually give you both rest and recovery without the hidden cost. And if you thought milk was surprising, wait until we examine the next bedtime trap. Millions of seniors turn to tea or coffee late in the evening, believing it's harmless if it's just 1 cup. But what that caffeine does to your body overnight may shock you even more. For many seniors, the evening feels incomplete without a warm drink in hand. A late-night cup of tea, or perhaps just 1 small coffee, often becomes a comforting ritual before bed. After all, if it's only a little caffeine, what harm could it really do? The truth, however, is far more serious than most realize. Even small amounts of caffeine consumed late in the evening can quietly erode the very muscle strength you are struggling to preserve. Here's why caffeine is a stimulant that directly interferes with your sleep cycle. While you may still fall asleep after that cup of tea or coffee, your body is robbed of the deep restorative sleep phases it needs most. For adults over 60, this disruption is devastating. Deep sleep is the precise stage when growth hormone surges, protein synthesis occurs, and muscles rebuild. When caffeine lingers in your system, and remember its half-life can stretch for 6 to 8 hours, it suppresses this essential process. You may not even realize it's happening. You close your eyes, you sleep, but you wake up tired, stiff, and weaker. Take the case of Mr. Franklin, a 71-year-old retired bus driver. He came to my office worried about his declining stamina. "Doctor," he said, "I can't figure it out. I still walk my dog every morning, but each week I feel like my legs give out faster." His blood work was stable, his exercise routine consistent, so what was the problem? After a careful review, we discovered his nightly habit, a large mug of black tea after dinner, which he believed helped his digestion. For years he had no idea this was disrupting his sleep architecture. I asked him to track his mornings for 2 weeks after cutting out the tea. The difference stunned him. "It's like my legs remembered how to work again," he told me. His strength wasn't gone, it had simply been suppressed by years of lost recovery time. Mainstream science has long confirmed caffeine's role in delaying deep sleep. But here's the lesser-known fact. Caffeine also elevates nighttime cortisol levels, the stress hormone. Elevated cortisol at night directly signals the body to break down, not build muscle tissue. For seniors who already face natural declines in anabolic hormones, this is catastrophic. Each night of disrupted rest chips away at muscle mass, leading to weakness, slower balance reactions, and a greater risk of falls. Some will argue, but it's decaf. Unfortunately, even decaffeinated coffee and tea still contain trace amounts of caffeine, and for sensitive older adults, even these small doses can be enough to interfere with sleep quality. And for those who believe green tea is always safe, it's important to know that while green tea contains health-promoting antioxidants, its caffeine content, especially at night, can do more harm than good. So ask yourself, is that calming cup of tea truly calming your body, or is it slowly stealing your muscle strength while you sleep? Is the short-term comfort worth the long-term cost? And if you thought caffeine was concerning, wait until you hear about the next nighttime staple. It's a food so common in senior diets that most don't question it for a second: white rice and other refined carbohydrates. Could this familiar comfort food actually be accelerating your muscle decline overnight? For countless seniors, white rice pasta or a slice of bread before bed feels like the perfect comfort food. It's warm, filling, and familiar, something that seems to settle the stomach and help with sleep. But what most don't realize is that these refined carbohydrates, especially when eaten in the evening, can quietly sabotage muscle health during the very hours when your body is supposed to be repairing itself. Here's what happens. Refined carbs like white rice and pasta are high on the glycemic index, meaning they are digested quickly and cause a sharp spike in blood sugar. This surge forces the pancreas to release insulin in large amounts, and as we discussed earlier, high insulin at night suppresses growth hormone release. For a younger person, this might not make much of a difference, but for someone over 60, when growth hormone levels are already dwindling, the effect is disastrous. Instead of rebuilding and repairing muscle fibers, the body is stuck in a loop of sugar regulation, leaving muscles deprived of the recovery they desperately need. Let me tell you about Mrs. Delgado, a 74-year-old widow who came to me complaining of increasing weakness in her legs. "Doctor," she sighed, "I can still walk, but climbing stairs has become a nightmare. My thighs just don't have the strength anymore." On the surface, she was eating what many would call a healthy diet. She avoided sweets, drank plenty of water, and stayed active. But when I looked closer, I saw her bedtime habit: a small bowl of rice or noodles every evening. She explained it helped her feel full and sleep better. Unfortunately, it was doing the exact opposite. Those starches were spiking her blood sugar, raising her nighttime cortisol, and preventing her muscles from repairing. When I asked her to replace those carbs with a handful of nuts and a bit of protein earlier in the evening, the transformation over 2 months was remarkable. Her legs grew steadier, her stamina improved, and her morning fatigue began to fade. Mainstream medicine has long acknowledged that seniors experience impaired glucose tolerance. In simple terms, this means your body doesn't handle sugar and starch the way it used to. But there's also a lesser-known fact that's particularly relevant here. Refined carbs eaten late in the day can trigger nighttime cortisol surges. Cortisol, often called the stress hormone, breaks down muscle tissue to release amino acids for emergency fuel. That might have been useful thousands of years ago when humans needed to survive long nights without food. But today it only leads to faster muscle decline in older adults. And here's the kicker. Many seniors believe they're making a healthier choice by skipping dessert and instead reaching for a bowl of rice bread or crackers. They think it's a lighter option, but biologically it's the same sugar trap in disguise. You may fall asleep faster because of the carb crash, but your muscles are paying the price all night long. So let me ask you, is that comforting bowl of rice or slice of bread before bed worth waking up weaker every morning? If your independence, your ability to walk, or even your safety on the stairs depends on stronger muscles, wouldn't you reconsider that choice? And if rice and bread surprised you, wait until you hear about the next culprit. It's a food most people consider refreshing and healthy, but eaten at the wrong time, it can quietly sabotage calcium absorption and protein utilization. The very fruit you think is protecting you may actually be robbing your muscles of strength. When most people think of fruit, they picture health. After all, fruits are packed with vitamins, minerals, and antioxidants. Doctors recommend them, nutritionists praise them, and seniors often feel proud for choosing fruit instead of processed snacks. But what if I told you that some fruits, especially citrus, can actually backfire when eaten before bed? That's right, the very food you thought was keeping you healthy may be silently weakening your muscles overnight. Let's talk about why. Citrus fruits like oranges, grapefruits, and tangerines are acidic by nature. Eating them late in the evening increases gastric acidity at the very time your body is supposed to enter a restful, repair-focused state. High acidity interferes with calcium absorption, and calcium is not only important for bones, it's crucial for muscle contraction and recovery. Without proper calcium balance, your muscles don't rebuild effectively, leaving you weaker in the morning. But that's not the only problem. Citrus fruits are also high in simple sugars called fructose. When consumed right before sleep, fructose disrupts the delicate nighttime insulin cycle, again suppressing growth hormone and slowing down protein synthesis. What feels like a light snack is in reality a double blow: higher acidity plus disrupted hormone balance. I think of Mr. Lewis, a 70-year-old retired accountant who came to see me about persistent leg cramps at night. Doctor, he said, I stretch, I walk, I even drink water before bed, but every morning my calves feel like I've been running a marathon in my sleep. At first, nothing in his lifestyle seemed alarming. He avoided sweets, didn't smoke, and exercised regularly. But when I asked about his bedtime snack, he smiled and said, I always have my grapefruit before bed. It keeps me regular, and I heard it's good for the heart. He was shocked when I explained that the very fruit he thought was helping him was actually draining his calcium and interfering with muscle repair. Once he switched his citrus snack to earlier in the day and replaced it at night with a protein-rich option, his cramps began to fade. Within a month, he reported feeling stronger in the mornings. Mainstream science agrees that older adults process nutrients differently. Gastric acid production changes with age, and seniors are more prone to reflux and nutrient malabsorption. But here's the lesser-known fact. The body's circadian rhythm controls not only sleep, but also digestion and absorption. At night, your stomach and intestines naturally slow down. Eating acidic, sugar-rich fruit in this phase is like asking your digestive system to run uphill when it's supposed to be resting. Instead of restoring muscles, your body is busy neutralizing acid and metabolizing sugar. It's easy to see why so many seniors make this mistake. Fruit feels light, natural, and safe. Compared to cookies or ice cream, a bowl of citrus seems like the smarter choice. But biology doesn't care about appearances. What matters is timing, and for seniors, citrus at night is the wrong time entirely. So here's my question for you. When was the last time you reached for fruit before bed thinking you were doing yourself a favor? Now that you know the truth, is it worth waking up weaker, cramp-prone, and more fatigued just for that small ritual? And if citrus shocked you, brace yourself for the next nighttime culprit. It's not sweet, it's not healthy, but it's one of the most common late-night snacks among seniors. Salty chips, crackers, or even pickles. Could these favorites be draining your muscles through a completely different pathway? Dehydration. For many seniors, salty snacks are a small comfort at the end of the day. A handful of potato chips, a few salted crackers, or even a couple of pickles pulled from the jar might feel harmless. After all, it's not cake or ice cream, right? But these salty bites, especially when eaten in the evening, may be doing more damage to your muscles than you ever imagined. Here's why. Salt drives dehydration. When you consume high-sodium foods before bed, your body pulls water into the bloodstream to balance the excess sodium. That process forces the kidneys to work harder, leading to increased nighttime urination and interrupted sleep. But here's the part most people don't realize: dehydration shrinks the volume of fluid inside your muscle cells. Muscles rely on proper hydration to repair and grow, and when that balance is disrupted, they can literally break down overnight. Instead of being restored, muscle tissue loses resilience, leaving you weaker and stiffer in the morning. Let me share the story of Ms. Turner, a 68-year-old former librarian. She had always enjoyed her quiet evenings with a book and a small bowl of salted peanuts or pretzels. But she came to me concerned about severe nighttime leg cramps and morning stiffness. "Doctor," she confessed, "I drink water all day, but somehow I still wake up feeling like my muscles are locked up." When we reviewed her diet, her evening snack habits stood out immediately. High-sodium foods at night were not only disrupting her fluid balance, but also waking her multiple times for bathroom trips. Her muscles never had the chance to rest and recover. After just 3 weeks of swapping her salty snacks for unsalted almonds and magnesium-rich pumpkin seeds earlier in the evening, her cramps began to vanish, and she described her mornings as lighter and freer. Mainstream medicine has long known that excessive sodium intake contributes to high blood pressure and kidney strain. But here's the lesser-known fact: muscle hydration is directly tied to muscle protein synthesis. When muscle cells lose water volume, protein-building enzymes don't function properly. In seniors, where repair is already slowed by aging, this effect is magnified. Instead of building up, muscles quietly deteriorate. That's why dehydration, whether from not drinking enough water or from eating salty foods at the wrong time, can be such a hidden driver of muscle decline. There's another consequence: disrupted electrolytes. Salt overload can throw off the balance of sodium, potassium, and magnesium in the body. When that balance is lost, nerves misfire, leading to the cramps and spasms so many seniors endure at night. It's not simply old age or bad luck, it's the direct result of habits that can be changed. Now you might be wondering, so what can I snack on at night if I can't have salty treats? The good news is, there are alternatives. Low-sodium nuts, a small serving of cottage cheese earlier in the evening, or even a sliced banana rich in potassium, can support muscle recovery instead of sabotaging it. The key is to think of every evening choice as either helping or hurting your muscles while you sleep. So ask yourself, this is the comfort of a salty crunch, worth waking up with aching, cramping legs? If your independence depends on muscle strength, maybe it's time to rethink that habit. And if salty snacks are bad, what about alcohol? The nightcap. So many seniors rely on to unwind. Millions believe a glass of wine or whiskey helps them sleep. But the hidden toll it takes on muscles is even greater than most realize. Let's uncover that next. For generations, the idea of a nightcap has been a cultural norm. A glass of wine, a shot of whiskey, or even a small cocktail in the evening is seen as a way to relax, to calm the mind, and to drift into sleep. Many seniors embrace this ritual, believing it helps them rest better. But the truth is, sobering alcohol before bed quietly strips away your muscle strength, disrupts your hormones, and accelerates the very nighttime shrinkage you're trying to avoid. Here's what happens. Alcohol acts as a sedative, so it can make you fall asleep faster. But that's a false comfort. It severely disrupts sleep quality by reducing the time your body spends in deep restorative stages of sleep. Those are the very stages when growth hormone is released and muscle tissue is rebuilt. With alcohol in your system, you may sleep longer, but you're not sleeping better. You wake up groggy, your muscles unrepaired, and your energy depleted. One of my patients, Mr. Hughes, a 73-year-old retired electrician, discovered this the hard way. He came to me worried about his declining grip strength and persistent fatigue. "Doctor," he told me, "I thought I was doing everything right, walking daily, eating balanced meals, but every morning I feel weaker." When I asked about his evenings, he admitted he enjoyed a nightly glass of red wine because he'd heard it was good for the heart. What he didn't know was that alcohol was quietly dismantling his recovery. We tested his hormone levels and found his testosterone was low, and his growth hormone release was suppressed, both critical for maintaining muscle. After gradually reducing his alcohol intake and replacing his nightcap with chamomile tea, his mornings changed dramatically. Within 6 weeks, his energy returned, and he reported feeling steadier on his feet. Mainstream medicine has long documented alcohol's effects on sleep. But here's the lesser-known fact. Alcohol directly reduces testosterone levels in men and estrogen balance in women, both of which are essential for muscle maintenance. Even small amounts of alcohol consumed regularly at night can lower these hormones enough to tip the balance from muscle preservation to muscle breakdown. For seniors whose hormone levels are already declining, this is catastrophic. It accelerates sarcopenia, the age-related loss of muscle mass, making everyday tasks like climbing stairs or carrying groceries far more difficult. There's also the issue of nutrient absorption. Alcohol interferes with the absorption of critical nutrients like vitamin D, magnesium, and protein nutrients your muscles need for repair. So while you may think a glass of wine is harmless, it's actually working against you on multiple levels, robbing you of hormones, disrupting your sleep, and blocking the very nutrients your muscles crave. So let me ask you, is that temporary relaxation worth the permanent cost of losing your strength? A nightcap may feel like a friend, but in reality, it's an enemy disguised as comfort. And if alcohol surprised you, wait until you hear about the final nighttime trap. It's not food, it's not drink, but it's something nearly every senior does without realizing how dangerous it is. Sitting or lying down immediately after a heavy evening meal may quietly starve your muscles of circulation and prevent the nutrients you do eat from ever reaching their target. Let's examine that next. We often think of eating dinner, finishing the dishes, and then settling into a chair or onto the couch as the most natural routine in the world. For many seniors, this quiet time after a meal feels deserved, a chance to rest, read, or watch television. But here's a hidden truth. Few people realize sitting or lying down right after a heavy evening meal doesn't just cause indigestion or heartburn. It can actually starve your muscles of the circulation and nutrients they need for overnight repair, creating the perfect environment for nighttime muscle shrinkage. Here's how it works. After a meal, blood flow is redirected to the digestive system to break down food and absorb nutrients. That's normal. But when you sit completely still or lie down immediately, circulation to your muscles slows even further. Instead of nutrient-rich blood being evenly distributed, it becomes concentrated in your gut. For seniors whose circulation is already weaker due to vascular stiffening, this imbalance can mean muscles go for hours with little oxygen and nutrient delivery. While you sleep, those same muscles are supposed to be rebuilding, but without proper circulation, the rebuilding process is incomplete and muscle tissue quietly weakens. Take the story of Mrs. Whitaker, a 76-year-old retired seamstress. She told me, "Doctor, I feel like every morning I'm heavier, slower, and weaker. But I eat well and I get 8 hours of sleep." When I asked about her routine, she admitted she often ate dinner around 7:30 p.m., then spent the rest of the night sitting in her recliner watching TV until bedtime. She believed this was harmless, even relaxing, but in truth, those long hours of sitting after a heavy meal were keeping her circulation sluggish and her muscles deprived. When I advised her to take a short 15-minute walk after dinner and to avoid lying down until at least an hour later, the results were striking. Within weeks, she reported less morning stiffness, better digestion, and a noticeable increase in leg strength. Mainstream medical research supports this. Sedentary behavior after meals increases the risk of insulin resistance, poor circulation, and muscle breakdown. But here's the lesser-known fact: immobility after a heavy meal increases nighttime triglycerides, which not only affect heart health but also interfere with the way amino acids are delivered to muscle tissue. In other words, you could eat the most protein-rich meal possible, but if you immediately lie down afterward, your muscles may never receive the benefits. It's easy to see why this happens. After a long day, you're tired. The chair or bed is inviting. But every night you repeat this cycle, your muscles lose another opportunity to repair and restore themselves. It isn't dramatic or sudden. It's slow, silent, and cumulative. One day you realize climbing the stairs feels harder. Rising from a chair takes more effort. And you wonder, when did I become this weak? So ask yourself, are those few hours of sitting comfort really worth years of lost strength? A simple change, a light walk, gentle stretching, or even just standing and moving around after dinner can make the difference between waking up weaker and waking up stronger. And now we've reached the end of this journey through the 9 hidden nighttime traps that accelerate muscle loss. But before we close, it's important to leave you with hope. In our final section, I'll show you safe, empowering evening choices that protect your muscles, support your sleep, and give you confidence that aging doesn't have to mean losing strength. Let's wrap this up with solutions that truly work. By now you've seen how fragile the nighttime hours can be for your muscles. The foods and habits that feel comforting, sweets, warm milk, late tea, rice, citrus, salty snacks, alcohol, and inactivity can quietly undo the hard work your body does to stay strong. Aging already makes recovery slower. When you add these nighttime traps, the result is morning weakness, cramps, and gradual loss of independence. But here's the good news: you can reverse much of this simply by making better evening choices. Let's begin with the big picture. Your body after 60 still has remarkable power to heal and adapt, but it requires the right conditions. Deep sleep, balanced hormones, steady circulation, and steady nutrient delivery are the pillars of overnight muscle repair. If you can protect those, you protect your strength. That's why your evening routine matters so much. It sets the stage for everything that happens during the night. So what should you do instead? Let me give you several safe muscle-protective evening options that have worked for countless seniors I've guided. Greek yogurt with nuts or seeds provides protein and magnesium supporting muscle repair without spiking blood sugar. A small piece of turkey or chicken lean protein with tryptophan to help you sleep naturally. A banana with almond butter combines potassium and magnesium to prevent cramps while offering steady energy release. Chamomile or rooibos tea, herbal options without caffeine that calm the nervous system without disrupting deep sleep. Avocado slices or half an avocado. Rich in potassium and healthy fats, they keep blood sugar stable and support circulation. Berries earlier in the evening. Antioxidants that fight inflammation best eaten at least 2 to 3 hours before bed to avoid sugar spikes. The key is balance. Avoid sugars, acids, stimulants, and heavy starches late in the day. Instead, focus on small amounts of protein minerals like magnesium and potassium and calming caffeine-free drinks. I think back to Mr. Hughes, the retired electrician who once relied on his nightly glass of wine. When he replaced it with chamomile tea and paired it with a handful of pumpkin seeds, not only did his sleep improve, but he also reported feeling steadier on his feet in the morning. Or Mrs. Collins, who swapped her milk and fruit bedtime snack for Greek yogurt with walnuts and soon found her legs no longer trembled when she stood up in the morning. These are simple swaps, yet they completely changed the way their bodies recovered at night. Mainstream medicine tells us that sarcopenia, age-related muscle loss, is inevitable. But the truth is, the pace of that loss is not fixed. By controlling what you eat and drink in the hours before sleep, you can dramatically slow it down, sometimes even reverse it. And here's a lesser-known fact. Seniors who practice early eating, finishing dinner 3 to 4 hours before bedtime, show stronger muscle retention compared to those who eat late. Timing matters just as much as food choice. So tonight, when you reach for that familiar bedtime ritual, pause and ask yourself, is this helping me wake stronger tomorrow or weaker? You deserve mornings where your legs feel steady, where your hands grip firmly, where your energy allows you to move confidently. And the decisions you make each evening can create that reality. Before we close, I want to thank you for taking this journey with me. Protecting your muscles isn't about fear, it's about empowerment. Knowledge gives you control, and with the right choices, you can safeguard your strength, independence, and dignity for years to come. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a comment with 1. If not, feel free to comment with 0. Your feedback means a lot to us. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you never miss another health tip designed just for you. Stay strong, stay mindful, and remember, aging is inevitable, but weakness doesn't have to be.